Lisa was a curious girl who loved to explore new places. She had heard stories about an old house in the woods that was said to be haunted by the ghost of a woman who killed herself there. She wanted to see it for herself and prove that there was no such thing as ghosts. She packed a flashlight, a camera, and a sandwich, and set off to the woods. She followed a dirt path that led her to the house. It was a large wooden structure with a sagging roof and boarded-up windows. It looked like it had been abandoned for a long time. She walked around the house, looking for a way in. She found a door that was slightly ajar and pushed it open. She entered the house and felt a cold breeze. She turned on her flashlight and saw a dusty hallway. She saw a sign that said, "Welcome to the House of Horrors." She laughed and thought that someone had a sick sense of humor. She decided to explore the house and see what horrors it had to offer. She walked along the hallway and saw several doors on both sides. She opened the first door on her right and saw a bedroom. She saw a bed, a dresser, a closet, and a mirror. She walked towards the bed and saw that it was covered with bloodstains. She felt a pang of fear and wondered what had happened here. She looked at the dresser and saw a photo frame. She picked it up and saw a picture of a young couple. They looked happy and in love. She wondered who they were and what their connection to the house was. Lisa's quivering hands continued their desperate struggle with the doorknob, each twist amplifying the oppressive tension in the narrow, dimly lit corridor. The air itself seemed to thicken with an otherworldly chill, and an eerie melody, discordant and unsettling, reverberated through the cramped space, as if the very walls held the echoes of long-forgotten sorrows. The shadows elongated and contorted into grotesque shapes as the figures, draped in an ethereal malevolence, advanced with a spectral grace. The woman in the blood-stained white dress glided inexorably closer, an apparition of dread. Strands of her jet-black hair slithered like serpents, and her words slithered through the air, a chilling whisper that seemed to seep into Lisa's very soul. "There's no escape, my dear." "Embrace the inevitable," she intoned, the haunting syllables resonating with a malevolent promise that sent shivers down Lisa's spine. The corridor appeared to constrict, the flickering lights casting grotesque shadows that danced malevolently across the walls. The man in the suit, the bullet hole in his forehead now a grotesque focal point, took measured steps forward. "Our destinies are forever entwined, my love. Surrender to the darkness," he murmured, his voice an otherworldly refrain that seemed to echo through the haunted expanse. From the bathroom, a guttural moan reverberated, pulling Lisa's horrified gaze. The water in the bathtub rippled ominously, revealing the lifeless eyes of the man in the suit. "Join me in the abyss, my love. Let the currents of eternity carry us away." His voice echoed from the depths, each word a sinister caress that resonated in the marrow of Lisa's bones. The kitchen, initially a fleeting illusion sanctuary, unfolded into an even more grotesque tableau. The set table taunted her, the note on the plate mocking her sanity. The beating heart pulsated with an unnatural rhythm, an eerie cadence that seemed to synchronize with her accelerating heartbeat. "Consume, my darling. Let our essences intertwine," a disembodied voice echoed, the promise of unholy communion lingering in the stagnant air. Cornered and defenseless, Lisa retreated to the locked door. The figures closed in, their laughter echoing through the now constricting hallway. The walls seemed to press in tighter, whispering malevolent secrets as if the very structure of the house reveled in her impending torment. "No escape, my sweet. Become one with the eternal night," the unholy trio chanted in a discordant harmony that reverberated through her tortured psyche. As Lisa closed her eyes, the oppressive darkness enveloped her, and the maniacal laughter reverberated in her mind. Another soul claimed by the House of Horrors, the chilling welcome echoing through the ever-shifting corridors. The echoes of her desperate screams melded with the haunting melody, creating a cacophony of despair that reverberated through the malevolent embrace of the House of Horrors, a never-ending nightmare that consumed her very essence in the depths of its abyss. The walls themselves seemed to pulse with malevolent energy, absorbing her fear and despair into their very foundation, as if the house itself fed on the anguish of its tormented inhabitants. The rain fell relentlessly, tapping against the window panes of the old manor. Its time-worn walls held secrets, dark, malevolent secrets that clung to the air like a curse. The villagers spoke of it in hushed tones, warning their children never to venture. But curiosity has a way of pulling at the seams of reason, and so it was that I found myself standing before the imposing gates of Whispering Manor. The iron gates groaned as I pushed them open, revealing a path overgrown with weeds. The manor loomed ahead, its silhouette distorted by the mist. The windows were like empty eye sockets staring into the abyss. I stepped inside, my footsteps echoing through the cavernous hallway. The air smelled of damp wood and decay. The first night was uneventful. I explored the dimly lit rooms, their wallpaper peeling, their furniture draped in dust covers. But it was the whispers that unnerved me, the soft, insistent murmurings that seemed to come from the very walls. I dismissed them as my imagination, a trick of the mind in this desolate place. On the second night, I heard footsteps, heavy, deliberate footsteps that echoed from the upper floors. I followed them up the grand staircase, my heart pounding. The corridor stretched before me, lined with portraits of long-dead ancestors. Their eyes bore into mine, accusing as if they knew my purpose here. I entered the master bedroom. The bed was draped in crimson velvet, its canopy swaying as if stirred by an invisible hand. And there, standing by the window, was a figure, a woman in a tattered white gown. Her face was obscured, but her eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. She turned toward me, and her lips moved. "Why have you come?" she whispered, her voice like the rustling of leaves in a graveyard. I stumbled backward, my breath catching in my throat. "I seek answers," I replied, my voice barely audible. "What happened here? Why is this place cursed?" The woman's laughter sent shivers down my spine. "Answers, you say? Very well." She beckoned me closer, and I stepped into the moonlight that filtered through the window. Her face was skeletal, her eyes hollow. She pointed to the mirror, the ornate mirror that hung above the fireplace. I looked into it, and my reflection wavered. The room transformed, the walls bled, and the floorboards creaked. I saw a man, a gaunt, desperate man, standing over a bed. His hands were stained with blood. A woman lay there, her throat slashed. The man's eyes met mine in the mirror, and he mouthed a single word: guilt. The vision faded, and I stumbled back. The woman's laughter turned to wails, and the room shook. "You seek answers," she said, her voice a chorus of tormented souls. "Then witness the truth." The mirror revealed more, a hidden passage, a cellar. I descended the narrow stairs, the walls closing in on me. And there, in the damp darkness, I found the man, the murderer. His eyes were wild, his hair matted with blood. He lunged at me, and I screamed. The blade descended, and the man's face contorted in agony. His blood seeped into the floor, feeding the malevolence of the manor. The woman's laughter echoed, louder now, as if celebrating the final act of a cursed play. And so I became part of the manor, a whisper, a shadow, forever haunted by the murder that stained its walls. The villagers were right. The manor whispered, and I listened. But now, I am the one who whispers, urging others to seek answers, to step into the darkness. For in Whispering Manor, the dead do not rest. They hunger for company, for stories, for blood. And as the rain continues to fall, I wonder who will be the next to knock on its cursed doors, seeking answers they may regret. It was a dark and stormy night. Sam, a young journalist, was driving along a deserted road in the countryside. He was on his way to interview a famous author who lived in a secluded mansion. He had heard rumors that the mansion was haunted, but he didn't believe in ghosts. He was more interested in getting a scoop for his magazine. As he approached the mansion, he saw a flash of lightning illuminate the towering structure. It looked old and decrepit, with broken windows and peeling paint. He parked his car in front of the iron gate and got out. He walked towards the entrance, hoping to find someone who could let him in. He rang the doorbell, but there was no answer. He knocked on the door, but still no response. He tried the handle, and to his surprise, the door opened with a creak. He stepped inside, feeling a chill in the air. He called out, "Hello, is anyone there?" But there was only silence. He looked around and saw a grand staircase leading to the upper floor. He decided to go up and look for the author. He climbed the stairs, feeling a sense of unease. He noticed that the walls were covered with portraits of people he didn't recognize. They all had stern expressions and piercing eyes. He felt like they were watching him. He reached the top of the stairs and saw a long corridor with many doors. He wondered which one belonged to the author. He tried the first door on his left, but it was locked. He tried the second door, but it was also locked. He tried the third door, and it opened. He entered the room and saw a large desk with a typewriter on it. He assumed this was the author's study. He walked towards the desk, hoping to find some clues about his whereabouts. He picked up a stack of papers on the desk and read the title. It said, "The Haunting of the Mansion." He realized that this was the author's latest work, a horror novel based on his own mansion. He flipped through the pages and saw that the story was about a journalist who came to interview the author, but found himself trapped in a nightmare. He felt a shiver run down his spine. He looked at the last page and saw that it was blank. He wondered what the ending was. He put the papers back on the desk and noticed a bookshelf on the wall. He walked over to it and saw that it was filled with books by the author. He recognized some of the titles, such as The Curse of the Castle, The Terror of the Tomb, and The Horror of the Hotel. He picked one of them and opened it. He saw that it was signed by the author with a personal message. It said, "To Sam, my biggest fan. I hope you enjoy my stories. They are all true. Yours sincerely, the author." He dropped the book, feeling a surge of fear. He realized that the author knew who he was and that he was here. He wondered how he knew and what he wanted from him. He looked at the bookshelf again and saw that there was a gap between two books. He reached for it and felt a switch. He pressed it and heard a click. He saw that the bookshelf moved, revealing a secret passage. He decided to follow it, hoping to find the author and confront him. He entered the passage and saw that it was dark and narrow. He felt his way along the wall until he reached a door. He opened it and saw a dimly lit room. He saw a bed, a closet, a dresser, and a mirror. He guessed that this was the author's bedroom. He walked towards the bed and saw that it was empty. He looked at the closet and saw that it was closed. He wondered if the author was hiding inside. He opened the closet and saw a skeleton hanging from a rope. He screamed and realized that the author was dead. He backed away from the closet and bumped into the dresser. He heard a thud and saw that a drawer had opened. He looked inside and saw a revolver. He picked it up and saw that it was loaded. He wondered why the author had a gun. He looked at the mirror and saw his own reflection. He saw that he was pale and sweaty. He felt a sudden pain in his chest. He looked down and saw that he had been shot. He saw blood dripping from his wound. He dropped the gun and fell to the floor. He heard a voice in his ear, whispering, "The end." He recognized the voice as the author's. He realized that the author had set a trap for him and that he had fallen for it. He realized that the author had written his own death and his own. He realized that he was the protagonist of the author's final story. He realized that he was going to die. He closed his eyes and saw darkness.